father of three, two boys and a girl. I'm a widower.
So 42 years old, living in Sydney, and just started a new career in labour hire, which is very exciting, having been in hospitality for many years.
I'm 30 this year, which is crazy. I'm going to Greece soon for my dad's 60th, which I'm really happy about.
I've got 4 kids, I've got a roofing business, also have a not-for-profit, been there, done that, Let's Chat, which sort of helps, gets bloke to talk.
I met my wife I sat in front of her in English at school. Started going out when we were 16. Got married, engaged at 20, married at 22. 26 years later, she was not feeling well, and it turned out to be a diagnosis of stomach cancer. So,
around about 10 years ago now, I found myself at the crescendo of a very significant substance abuse issue. I'd come to terms with my sexuality, but I hadn't really taken that step that we all need to take where we have that coming out moment. I also was hiding the fact that I'd been a victim of childhood sexual abuse from someone outside of my family at a young age.
I had psychosis when I was 18. I finished school and suddenly I just felt a bit weird. Didn't know what it was, and I was super paranoid and anxious, and I'd never felt like that before in my life, and I wasn't comfortable with it. So I rang up my mum and said, "Hey, I need you to pick me up from work. I'm not feeling too good."
As a child, I was molested when I was around 8 years old. Never told anybody about it. Held on to that for 30 years, close to 30 years.
So I had some pretty dark nights, suicidal ideation, and underneath I was just drowning, screaming in pain.
It was becoming abundantly clear in my early 30s that something was wrong. That crescendo of the substance abuse had left me in such a poor state that I knew that I needed to just go somewhere, and I needed to be away. It had to be a handbrake. It had got that bad.
Because I felt so different so abruptly, I knew that something was up that I needed to get help for.
Some days I'd sit in my car and not even get out for work because I'd just be frozen with depression, and I wasn't lazy, I just couldn't move, and tried to take my life through suicide one day. Only thing that sort of stopped me was my kids. I thought of them and thought that, I didn't want them to remember their dad like that.
I never asked anyone for help. I didn't know how. It didn't even occur to me until I met one bloke who I admired. He was a barrister, and he was a very competent man, a great sportsman and a good friend. And he looked at me in the eyes, and I never forget this. This was so important to me at the time. He said, "If I'd gone through what you've gone through, I'd run screaming to the nearest psych." And it was like I'd had my excursion permission slip signed, right? I am going, because I'm allowed to. Right?
I was introduced to Samson from a fellow survivor in early recovery, and that was a wonderful experience. To be able to deal with such a dark subject under the guidance and protection of an organisation such as Samson was absolutely life-changing.
Because of the nature of my acute onset psychosis, I was actually put into the emergency care ward at St George Hospital, and I was put under psychiatric care straight away. So I actually had a social worker, a psychiatrist and a psychologist, which was awesome. So they were able to actually give me that care through the public system.
So people do seek other professional help in that as well, so that all helps. But just the initial thing of talking, telling your story, tell someone you're struggling, helps a lot.
Yeah, the power of one bloke being available to another bloke is incredible. So I'd encourage anyone to reach out to a bloke and that man to respond with no judgment, just care.
If you're not sure about accessing a resource like this, that's probably how you're supposed to feel. It can be conflicting and confronting, but as we know with any journey, sometimes you just need to take that step and it could have a really significant impact on your life.
When I had psychosis, I was detached from reality and I didn't know what was happening in the world. What I did know though was that professional help was out there to make me feel better. And someone's whole job is to make you feel better and to make sure that you feel like your normal self again.
That's what I would recommend. The more you say it, the more you talk about it, the more people you tell, it just gets easier each time.